Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking on a massive cultural assumption.
A really pervasive one.
Right. The idea that menstruation is just an inconvenience. Our mission in this deep dive is to explore the research that frames the menstrual cycle not as this standalone event, but as a critical, ongoing vital sign.
A constant stream of data.
Exactly. A stream of data about your entire body's health. It tells us so much more than just reproductive readiness.
That framing is, I think, truly transformative. The whole thesis we're pulling from this material is, well, it's simple, but it's profound.
Go on.
A regular ovulatory cycle is basically a hallmark of good systemic health.
Meaning everything is working together.
Right. Your hormonal, metabolic, and energy systems are all optimized, and when that pattern deviates, the timing, the frequency, the volume, it's often the very first sign that something else is wrong.
Something that has nothing to do with the uterus itself.
Not directly, no. It's like an advanced warning system for the entire body.
And we have to get this out there right at the top just to establish how serious this is. ACOG, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, formally recognizes the menstrual cycle as a vital sign.
And just think about that for a second. That puts it on par with your blood pressure.
With your pulse rate, your body temperature.
It fundamentally shifts the clinical perspective. It's no longer an isolated issue. It's a symptom of a broader systemic problem. And the key to understanding why, well, it lies in the system that drives it. The HPO axis.
The HPO axis. So that's hypothalamus, pituitary gland, ovaries, and uterus. It sounds highly technical.
It is, but here's why it's the body's ultimate canary in the coal mine. It's all about resource management.
Okay.
The hypothalamus, that's mission control in your brain, it's constantly gauging your environment. Stress, energy intake, inflammation.
All the inputs.
All of them. And if it senses that resources are scarce, it just tells the pituitary gland to dial back the reproductive hormones. The HPO axis is an expensive system to run, so it's the first thing the body powers down when it's under strain.
So its proper functioning is direct reflection of your body's overall state.
Exactly. The regularity, frequency, duration, volume, those are all continuous data points.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's get specific. If the cycle is a vital sign for the whole body, how is it giving us clues about, say, our thyroid or our gones, things that seem totally unrelated?
This is where the detective work starts. It all boils down to endocrine connections. The body's hormones aren't working in silos, they're in a highly integrated network, and the HPO axis is just incredibly sensitive to hormones from other glands.
So if one system gets destabilized?
The reproductive system is often the first to show it.
Gives a clear example of that.
Okay, look at thyroid disorders. The thyroid is the master regulator of your metabolism.
Right.
If you have hyperthyroidism, an overactive thyroid, your body is just burning through energy too quickly. It's an overdrive. That can lead to light or infrequent periods, or even amenorrhea, where they start completely.
And the opposite.
Conversely, hypothyroidism, a sluggish thyroid, slows everything down. And that can sometimes lead to very heavy bleeding, menorrhagia, because the hormonal rhythms are just off. That metabolic instability directly disrupts the reproductive rhythm.
And we see these disruptions coming from even higher up the chain, right? From the pituitary gland itself.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of hyperprolactinemia.
Absolutely. So prolactin is the hormone we usually associate with milk production.
Right.
But elevated levels, which can be caused by a small, benign tumor on the pituitary, are a major disruptor. That high prolactin just suppresses the release of the key hormones you need for ovulation.
And the result is a shutdown.
A total shutdown. You get amenorrhea, the absence of a period, and sometimes galactorrhea, that milky discharge. It's a perfect example of one hormone just hijacking the entire cycle.
Which brings us to the most common one we hear about in this context, PCOS. Polycystic ovary syndrome.
It's the most common endocrine disorder for people with ovaries. It affects up to 1 in 10. And while the symptoms show up in the reproductive system, irregular periods, cysts on the ovaries.
It's not really a reproductive problem at its core.
Not at its core, no. Fundamentally, it's a metabolic and hormonal disorder. It's characterized by insulin resistance and an excess of androgens. That hormonal environment just stops the ovary from doing its job each month, which is why the cycle is so central to a PCOS diagnosis.
This is where it gets, for me, really fascinating. Connecting the cycle to what's literally on our plate. how the body will prioritize survival over reproduction if it thinks there's an energy deficit.
That's functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, FHA, and it's a brilliant evolutionary trade-off, really. FHA happens when the body detects low energy availability.
And this isn't just about weight loss.
No, it's the simple math of energy in versus energy out. If someone is severely restricting calories or doing excessive amounts of exercise or dealing with an eating disorder, the hypothalamus reads that as a famine or as a state of profound stress.
So the hypothalamus just says, nope, we cannot support a pregnancy right now.
Precisely. It goes into conservation mode, it switches off the HPO axis. The person might look totally fine, even physically fit on the outside, but internally, the reproductive system is powered down to save resources for the heart, the brain.
The essentials.
The essentials. The missing period is the body's way of ensuring survival, but it comes at a pretty significant biological cost.
And that cost can be immediate, right? It impacts long-term health, especially our bones.
This is a huge and often overlooked part of the equation. Estrogen is critical, absolutely critical for maintaining bone density. That's a process happening all through your 20s and 30s.
You're building your bone bank for life.
Exactly. And if you're in a low estrogen state from prolonged amenorrhea, or FHA, you're missing that crucial stimulus for bone building. This massively increases the risk of early onset osteoporosis and stress fractures. We see it a lot in young athletes. The lack of a period isn't just an inconvenience, it's dissolving your future bone health.
And on the other end of the spectrum, obesity and excessive energy also disrupts the cycle, but through a different mechanism.
It does. Excess adipose tissue, or body fat, isn't just sitting there, it's metabolically active. It can increase insulin resistance, and critically, fat cells produce their own estrogen. It's a specific type called estrone, and it's less regulated.
So you get this constant high level of estrogen,
which disrupts the delicate feedback loop needed for the pituitary to signal ovulation. The result is often an erratic cycle, or heavy bleeding, or sometimes no period at all. And it all stems from metabolic dysregulation.
So we've clearly established how this cycle reflects what's going on systemically. Let's pivot now to the other half of this story. The health conditions that the menstrual process itself can cause or, make much worse.
Right. We're moving from the barometer function to the direct impact function. And we have to start with mood, specifically the crucial distinction between PMS and PMDD.
Because so many people use those terms interchangeably, and they are not the same thing.
Not at all. PMS, premenstrual syndrome, is common. It's those uncomfortable, but for most people, manageable symptoms. The bloating, the mood swings, some fatigue.
And they show up in the week before the period and then resolve.
Yes, once flow begins, they disappear. PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, is a completely different clinical entity. It's a severe, debilitating extension of that.
We're talking about things like severe depression, anxiety, uncontrollable anger.
Even suicidal ideation. Symptoms that are so pronounced, they completely derail your life. They impact work, school, relationships. It's not just bad mood swings, it's a temporary psychological incapacitation.
What's the mechanism that makes PMDD so much worse? It's not just more hormones, is it?
No, and this is key. It's not that their hormone levels are necessarily abnormal. The problem is their brain's reaction to the normal, expected fluctuations of those hormones.
An abnormal sensitivity.
A profound one. People with PMDD seem to have an abnormal sensitivity to a metabolite of progesterone, which messes with serotonin and GABA activity in the brain. They are, in effect, chemically intolerant to their own hormonal cycle.
Okay, let's tackle the physical pain, which is so often minimized. Dysmenorrhea, painful periods. We need to be clear on the difference between primary and secondary pain here.
Yes, primary dysmenorrhea is pain without any underlying structural problem. This is the common cramping, and it's caused by high levels of hormone-like chemicals called prostaglandins.
And why do prostaglandins cause pain?
Because they trigger powerful uterine muscle contractions. The uterus is trying to shut its lining, so it clamps down hard. When those contractions are too strong, they constrict the tiny blood vessels that supply oxygen to the uterine muscle.
So you're cutting off the oxygen supply.
You are. It causes ischemia, oxygen deprivation. And that severe lack of oxygen in the muscle tissue is what causes that intense cramping pain. It's essentially like having a series of mini heart attacks in your uterus.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. And that's primary. Secondary dysmenorrhea is the real red flag.
It is, because the pain is a symptom of a specific disease. The most notorious one, of course, is endometriosis. In endometriosis, tissue that's similar to the uterine lining grows outside the uterus on the ovaries, fallopian tubes, all over the pelvic lining. And that tissue also responds to hormonal signals, causing monthly inflammation, internal bleeding, scarring, and just excruciating chronic pain.
What are some of the other major structural causes?
We also look for adenomyosis. That's where the same tissue grows into the muscular wall of the uterus itself, making it thick and distorted. That causes really painful, heavy periods. Uterine fibroids, which are benign muscle tumors, can also cause major pain and bleeding, as can pelvic inflammatory disease.
And these are all things that need specific medical intervention, not just popping a few painkillers.
Exactly. This is beyond over-the-counter pain relief.
Okay, let's move to the physical flow itself. Abnormal uterine bleeding, AUB. Specifically, heavy menstrual bleeding or menorrhagia.
This is a massive public health issue. Clinically, HMB means losing more than 80 milliliters of blood per cycle. But a practical measure is if you're soaking through a heavy flow pad or tampon every hour for several hours.
If you're doing that, you're likely in this category.
Yes. And the inevitable consequence of that chronic blood loss is iron deficiency anemia.
Which hits your energy and your brain function.
Dramatically. Anemia means you don't have enough red blood cells to carry oxygen around your body. The symptoms are profound. Crushing fatigue, weakness, shortness of breath, and significant cognitive issues. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating.
So it really degrades your quality of life every single month.
Your ability to work, to function, your mental clarity, absolutely.
So we've covered how the cycle reflects health and how it affects health. What does this all mean, practically, for someone listening? We have to establish that boundary between what's a healthy variation and what's a real problem.
Right, because the definition of normal is so often misunderstood. We have to define the spectrum. The average cycle is 28 days, but anything from 21 to 35 days is considered normal.
That's a big window.
It is. A 7-day window on either side. Flow duration should be between 2 and 7 days, and the volume is usually around 30 to 40 ml. You can fluctuate within those ranges and be perfectly healthy. The key is what's consistent for you.
But then there are the critical red flags, the symptoms that mean you need to seek medical attention because they point to something bigger.
Yes. We have 6 major indicators that should prompt a consultation. First, your period suddenly stopping for more than 90 days, assuming you aren't pregnant or near menopause.
That could be FHA or something serious.
Exactly. Second, bleeding so heavy you're soaking through a pad or tampon every hour for several hours straight. That needs intervention to prevent serious anemia. Third, periods that last longer than 7 days.
Okay.
Fourth, any bleeding between periods. Fifth is about the pain element.
The pain, right?
Severe pelvic pain that isn't helped by over-the-counter medication and genuinely interferes with your daily life. If you're missing work or school every month, that's a red flag.
That points to things like endometriosis.
It does. And finally, there are pediatric flags. Periods starting before age 8 or 9, or no period at all by age 15.
That list provides such a clear framework for when to take action. So when we zoom out, this knowledge is most valuable when we connect it to the bigger societal picture, isn't it? The impact of these disorders isn't just internal, it affects everything.
Absolutely. Let's go back to chronic pain for a second. With endometriosis or severe adenomyosis, the pain is relentless. It's often not just during the period. This chronic disease burden leads to significantly higher rates of clinical anxiety and depression.
So it's not just feeling sad.
No, it's the combination of physical agony and the constant uncertainty about your own body that creates a severe psychological strain.
And that strain translates directly into productivity issues globally.
Precisely. We see huge economic consequences from absenteeism, people missing work or school, but maybe even more from presenteeism.
Where you're there, but you're not really there.
You're physically at work, but the pain, the fatigue, the brain fog means you are operating at a severely reduced capacity. This is why you see conversations about things like menstrual leave. They highlight the scale of the problem.
And the financial side is huge as well.
Yeah.
The cost of just managing this every month, the so-called pink tax.
It's a substantial and unavoidable financial burden. The monthly cost of pads, tampons, pain medication, heat pads, sometimes prescription hormones, or even surgical costs. It all adds up.
For some families, that can be a prohibitive cost.
It can force terrible choices between menstrual products and other necessities. And when you magnify that globally, you get to the crisis of period poverty and all the stigma that comes with it.
A major barrier to equity.
And to dignity. A lack of access to basic products and sanitation keeps millions of people from fully participating in society. Girls miss school, adults miss work. The stigma that menstruation is dirty or shameful forces people into silence, and that further hurts their economic opportunities and well-being.
When you dismiss the cycle as trivial, You're dismissing a huge systemic barrier to global participation.
You really are.
So to synthesize everything we've talked about, this relationship between menstruation and health is symbiotic. We've really covered both sides of that coin today.
We have. On one side, menstruation reflects robust systemic health. A regular, predictable ovulatory cycle is your ongoing proof that your endocrine, metabolic, and energy systems are all working in harmony.
And the deviations are the clues. The breadcrumbs leading to diagnoses of thyroid problems or energy deficit.
Exactly. And on the other side, the physiological process of menstruation affects health. It can directly cause or worsen issues like PMDD, severe dysmenorrhea, endometriosis, and the chronic anemia that comes from heavy bleeding.
It's a barometer and an engine of health, all in one.
Which really raises an important question, one we should leave the listener with. If the menstrual cycle is formally recognized by leading medical institutions as a vital sign, a non-negotiable metric of overall health, why is it still so often dismissed? Why is it minimized? And why is it considered normal to suffer through severe symptoms?
That's the core of it, isn't it?
It is. We have to shift the culture. Understanding and normalizing this detailed conversation around the menstrual cycle. It's truly fundamental to understanding holistic human health.